opportunity. You've got a great one in Rodney, by the way. He's a wonderful administrator. He's also a wonderful friend of mine. So I'm a little biased, but he's a good one. You got a good one. What I wanted to do is spend just a few minutes this afternoon kind of giving you an overview of who we are. You know, I think people hear about the Ports Authority, they think Charleston, but they don't know who we are. And I think it's important to kind of convey to you not just who we are, but where we're headed and why we're coming here. And so this is informal. Stop me, ask questions, throw things at me. Doesn't matter to me. I want to introduce Michael Ellenberg. Michael is part of my team with Ports Authority. He is currently the terminal manager in Georgetown. He's been on the port about 15 years. Michael's moving to Dillon. He's going to run the Dillon operation for us. He and his wife, Pica, will be moving here in the next year or so, and I hope you will embrace Michael as well and his wife and welcome them to the community. They're going to be a fine representative of the Ports Authority. So we'll try to get through this. I know it's just a little temperamental, but bear with me. I hope you can see it. You know, I like to start with where we came from. I mean, we are Ports Authority. We've actually been on port since the 1600s. Most people don't realize that. We became an authority, however, in about 1942. And if you have spent time in Charleston, things have changed dramatically. This is our Columbus Street Terminal back in 1944. If you were to go out there today, you'd see a bunch of BMWs ready to go around the world. This is our North Charleston Terminal. Again, if you were there today, you would see containers stacked up, ready to go. And then this is the waterfront park area, which actually is where our office is, across the street from the Customs House. I don't know why it's blinking in and out, but we'll make it work. So a little bit about us. We are a major influencer of the economy in South Carolina, in the Southeast, and in the country. We have about a $53 billion annual impact on South Carolina. That's through the companies that are in South Carolina because of us. And when you look at that, that's about 10% of the state's GDP. So pretty important. Companies that use us generate just shy of $1 billion in sales tax, state tax revenue. And if you look at the companies that are here, and this is any company that moves freight through our terminal, about 1 in 11 jobs in South Carolina are tied to it. So we absolutely believe we are the state's most strategic asset. And you can see, if it comes back up, our activities spread statewide. Not concentrated in Charleston, not concentrated in the Midlands or the upstate. Statewide, every county in South Carolina has a company that utilizes the Port of Charleston. I think that's very, very important. But we're not exclusive to South Carolina. We handle 25 other states every single day. So 26 states every day, going to 140 countries around the world. We are a major player, not just in the state's economy, but in the Southeast. So who are we? Well, we are an enterprise agency of the state, which is a very nice way to say we don't receive an appropriation to cover our business. We're not part of the tax budget. We're not part of the governor's budget. We don't receive taxpayer subsidies to run our organization. We exist based on our ability to produce revenue to cover our expenses. So we like to tell people we're a private company with a government shareholder. Michael and I are both state employees, but the similarities between that and anyone else stop at that point in time. You can see, you can see we have 3 operations: Port of Charleston, I mentioned the Port of Georgetown, where Michael currently is, and of course our inland port in Greer, and soon to be an inland port here in Dillon. So we'll come back to that in just a second. So if you haven't been to Charleston, please come. We are spread out in 5 terminals today. 2 of those are containers, 2 of them are break bulk, 1 of them is a railroad terminal. We do have a cruise facility, and we have a new terminal under construction. So to kind of point these out, our largest terminal today is our Wando Welch terminal on the Mount Pleasant side of the harbor. Union Pier is where our headquarters is. There's also our cruise terminal. Columbus Street is, as I mentioned earlier, that's where our railroad facilities roll on, roll off. That's where you're going to see BMW, Mercedes, GE gas turbines, Siemens gas turbines. North Charleston is our 2nd container terminal, and then we have a new terminal under construction at the southern end of the Navy base. So a little bit about cruise, because I think it's important to mention. We are actively pursuing retrofitting a facility on our Union Pier terminal. This is a rendering of what it will look like. Once we do that, it will enable us to redevelop the whole waterfront. We basically own from the waterfront park up to the bridge. It will allow us to open that back up to the community, take down some of our warehouse facilities, really make a nice showcase for the city of Charleston. As far as our business is concerned, about 78 to 80% of what we do is containerization. We move containers, and that's the bulk of our business. Break bulk, which does include roll-on, roll-off, makes up about 16%, and then the balance is our crews. All three are equally important to us. All three are critical to our revenue stream. And as far as Charleston is concerned, what we're very proud of is we are the fastest growing port in the country. In the last 5 years, we grew at 43%. That's our volume has grown at 43%, significantly faster than our competition during the same period of time. 15, we grew at 10%. We've been moving in the right direction. And then when you look at our intermodal traffic, one of the things that we are cognizant of is the challenge of the transportation system. And so we've tried to ship as much cargo as we can to the railroad. The last 5 years, our rail volume has grown 166%. That being said, it only makes up about 25% of our total volume. So 75% of our cargo still comes in and out via truck. Very important to us, but we will continue to do everything we can to move product onto the rail network. As far as recent concern, the last 6 months have been great. Rodney mentioned the 2 new cranes that we have. Those are Supercoast Panamax cranes. They are 155 feet tall. That means there's 155 feet between the top of the crane and the deck. Current cranes are 115 feet tall. We're going big because our industry is changing. We've added new services. We're the strongest East Coast port as far as European services are concerned. We're the fastest growing port as far as Asian services are concerned. So we've added 2 Asia services. I mentioned Vietnam and Shanghai are the most recent ones. We've added additional rail service into the Charlotte region. We announced Ellenberg, Dillon, and we've seen a lot of growth as a result. So what is driving where we're headed? Well, there's really 3 trends that I'm going to touch on. First is simply the Southeast is growing faster than any other region of the country. Second, ships are getting bigger. They're getting massive, and it's putting a lot of pressure on our infrastructure. And the third is we've got to learn to be innovative in our approach. So talking about the Southeast, as I mentioned, it is the fastest growing region of the country. More people are moving to the Southeast than are leaving the Southeast. More are growing in the population. Unlike the Northeast or the West Coast, we don't tend to live on the coast. 2 largest urban footprints are Atlanta and Charlotte, 2 fastest growing, 2 of the 3 fastest growing cities in the country, Atlanta and Charlotte. So we have to be able to respond to get that freight inland to serve those consumers. We also tend to manufacture, grow, mine, make stuff for local consumption more than any other region of the country as well. So the Southeast is a great place for us to be. And if you look at just South Carolina, this is not all inclusive, but in the last 5 years, we've seen a significant investment of our companies coming to our state. About $10 billion, representing about 24,000 jobs, spread across the state, all regions of the state, and a mix of companies, not just domestic, not just international, but types of companies. These companies would not be in South Carolina but for the Port of Charleston, simply put. So we're a major driver of an economic development. If you look at 2015, pretty good year. Mercedes announced a new assembly facility in Ladson, South Carolina, right outside of Charleston. That's where they're going to make the Sprinter vans, 2 different models. Of course, Volvo in Pringletown, if you've ever heard of Pringletown, which is a suburb of Ridgeville, by the way. Another 500 million, 2,000 job facility. Dollar Tree, 1.5 million square foot distribution center in Calhoun, South Carolina. Dollar Tree would tell you they chose South Carolina because of Port of Charleston. Rite Aid, 900,000 square foot distribution center in Spartanburg, and TTI. Anyone know who TTI is? Yes. TTI is the company that owns all the brands that are Home Depot exclusives. Ryobi, HomeLight, people like that. 1.5 million square foot distribution center in Anderson, South Carolina. Why is that important? TTI is part of the Home Depot network. Home Depot is a Georgia company, but they chose to put their distribution center in South Carolina because of the Port of Charleston. I mentioned big ships. So in our world, everything is measured by what we call a TEU, a 20-foot equivalent unit. What you see going up and down the interstates are 40-foot equivalent units, or FEUs. 2 T's equal 1 F. So everything that we do measurement-wise is in a TEU. Simply put, these ships are getting massive. If you look at that top one, I hope you can see it, 18,000 TEU vessel. That means 9,000 40-foot containers on that vessel. These are not small ships. And we're seeing those already in rotation. There are 23,000 TEU vessels under construction as we speak, all entering the service stream. And as these bigger ships come in, the smaller ships get pushed out of the market and are scrapped. And so we are responding to the massive growth of ships. I really hope you can see this. This is actually to scale. So this is a little bitty X5 made in Spartanburg, South Carolina, right next to the 787 Boeing airplane. And if you've been to Charleston, you'll recognize the USS Yorktown sitting in our harbor. This shaded vessel is a 9,000 TEU vessel. The Yorktown will fit inside of that ship. We get 11 of these a week coming into Charleston. This next size up is a 14,000 TEU vessel. That'll be here in the spring of 2017, calling on Charleston. And this is accurate. 70 million pairs of running shoes will fit on a 14,000 TEU vessel. And believe me, our friends at Adidas would love to sell 70 million pairs. But to put things in perspective, that ship, which we'll see in the spring, is 1,200 feet long, 167 feet wide, and when it's fully loaded, it drafts 51 feet of water. Anyone know how tall the Empire State Building is? Yes. Come on. Work with me. 1,000 feet. 1,250 feet tall. So basically take the Empire State Building, put her on her side, and bring that into the Charleston Harbor. That's what's headed our way in the spring. That's what's changing the world we live in. Incredible. And then, of course, there are innovative inland solutions to respond. This is our inland port in Greer. I'm not going to move. I think I'm going to call it. Opened in 2013. This has exceeded our expectations as far as success is concerned. We opened this. We broke ground March 1 of 2013. We went live October 1 of 2013. 6-month construction window. If you remember 2013, we had a lot of rain. We lost 102 days of construction to rain, but we still managed to open on schedule because our customers were expecting that. This was launched with BMW as our primary customer. We are about 2.5 miles from the BMW plant, which is sitting up here. We're 3 miles from Interstate 85. This little building you see right there is about a 450,000 square foot building that was built at the same time we built it. It's not ours, but a company wanting to be located immediately adjacent to us. We're open 24/7 here because our customers are 24/7 in real estate. That allows people to bring cargo in and out at all hours of the day and night to better serve their needs. A little bit about this plant, this facility. What you see there is 47 acres under concrete, 16 inches thick, roller compacted concrete. We moved 1.2 million cubic yards of soil. We brought in 42,000 linear feet of rail. We started with 3 rubber tire gantry cranes. We're now up to 5 because our volume is demanding it. Those cranes happen to be the tallest structures in Greer, South Carolina. When we open here in Dillon, it will be the tallest structure in Dillon as well. They're about 75 feet tall. These, the ones coming to Dillon, are taller because of the configuration. So as far as volume is concerned, you can see here October, we pushed through 93 boxes for BMW as part of our debugging system. We went live for everyone else in November, and then you can see the phenomenal growth. So when I went to the board with this, my board of directors, they said, Jack, if by year 5 you've moved 40,000 containers annually and have broken even successfully. We moved 42,000 in year 1. We moved 75,000 in year 2. We will close this year at about 115,000 through that facility. And we broke even in 18 months. So phenomenally successful, which is actually putting an enormous amount of pressure on Michael and I here at Dillon. So we plan to make it successful. The other thing I'll point out is every single container that we move through there, 42,000 in year 1, 115,000 this year, that takes a truck off the interstate. That means 115,000 fewer truck moves up and down Interstate 26. Very important considering the challenges we have in infrastructure. What makes it work is this an overnight schedule. The Greer facility is our Norfolk Southern Serve facility. This is their training schedule. I don't expect you to be able to see that. But the bottom line is this. We can take a container from a vessel and have it in Greer within 21 hours. That's why it's successful. And then from Greer, you can go pretty much anywhere you want to be. So why did Dollar Tree choose Cowpens, South Carolina? They chose Cowpens in part because of this. You go 500 miles out of Greer, South Carolina, you get 94 million people. That's 94 million consumers. Dollar Tree can touch 1,400 stores in Cowpens, South Carolina. Phenomenal opportunity. Likewise, you're in the zone of exports as well. And then if you were to ask a company like a BMW, why did they choose Greer? Why did they choose to use us? One, lower cost. It is more competitive to move a container via rail than it is via truck today. It's cheaper. You're spreading your risk among multiple users. It is extremely reliable. Trains run on the schedule. In BMW's world, they reduced their emissions by 75%. They love using the trains, and Germany actually puts a dollar figure on what that reduction means. And I mentioned the geographic location. And then finally, we're actually 4 modes of transportation: water, train, truck, and we sit at the end of the runway for GSB, which now has air service twice a week from Europe, connected to us. So it is a phenomenal success. So where we're headed? Well, if you're going to be a top 10 port, you got to be prepared to spend a lot of money. And we are spending a lot of money. In the next 5 years, we're going to spend right $2.2 billion US dollars on infrastructure to be able to move freight. I know you can't see this, but it's actually shaded different colors. We, the Ports Authority, is spending $1.35 billion in the next 5 years. I say we. Again, we don't receive an appropriation from the taxpayers. We have to go to the capital market like any company, and we have to produce the revenue to cover those expenses. So $1.35 billion is basically what we call inside the fence investments. The new terminal, which you can barely see down here, that is the Hugh Leatherman terminal. That is the only permitted new terminal under construction on the U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast. We're making that investment because we anticipate the growth of our volume. We also are investing in our existing terminal operations. For example, the Wando terminal. When it was built in 1982, we never envisioned a ship bigger than 4,000 TEUs. When you have 14,000 TEU vessels in, you have to get new equipment. That equipment's heavy. So we had to shore up our wharf structure to be able to bring those supersized cranes in. The state of South Carolina is contributing about 700 to 900 million. That is our harbor deepening. We are 45 feet mean low water today. That means when I bring in a ship 48 feet, I have to bring it in on high tide, and I have to take it out on high tide. When we go to 52 feet mean low water, we are not going to be tidally restricted. Those 14,000 TEU vessels can come and go as they please. We are building a dedicated road off of 26 to the tune of about $300 million to be able to get those trucks off of the interstate and into our new terminal very quickly. And then the state is investing almost $300 million in a dual-serve intermodal container transfer facility, which will connect both Class 1 railroads with Greer and with Dillon. A lot going on in the next 5 years. So it is absolutely critical that we drive volume. One thing I failed to mention, going back to the big ship discussion, 14,000 TEU vessel, There are only 5 ports on the East Coast that us can get into. New York and New Jersey, they have a bridge in the way, the Bayonne Bridge, they're raising it to the tune of $1.6 billion. Norfolk's a military installation, they're always going to get what they need. Baltimore's got a 10.5-hour steaming time from the open ocean to the terminal. They don't make money when they're going into a terminal, they make money on the open ocean. Miami's a nice cruise city, but you're not going to bring a container to Miami and run it to Atlanta. It's too cost prohibitive. In Charleston, that's it. So when you look at the Southeast, when you look at the growth of the consumer market, when you look at the growth of global consumption, when you look at the big ships, a lot of the pressure is going to be on Charleston to deliver. And that's why we're making the investments that we're making. So as I said, the next 5 years are going to be critical. The Leatherman Terminal will be open in 2019. Our harbor deepening will be realized in 2019. And the new dual-serve rail facility will be open in 2019. Which brings us to Dillon. We started this project back about September of last year. My board came to me and said, Greer's been phenomenally successful, find another location, preferably on the CSX line. And so until we announced it in April, I was spending a lot of time with NISA, a lot of time with William Fleming and his team, very quietly looking in this area to say, where is the best location for this project? And by the way, it was codenamed Project Pedro in honor of our friends up the road. So if you hear anyone referring to Project Pedro, it's the port. We settled on this location, I settled on this location for a number of reasons. Number one, you're on the CSX A line. That is the primary thoroughfare for CSX north to south. Connects us up into the Northeast, connects us down into Florida. You're along the I-95 corridor. Very important to be able to get trucks in and out and off the interstate, and you have a customer base in this area. I can't open an inland port without customers. We happen to have a couple of really good ones in this immediate area, not just Harbor Freight Tools, but companies like Flakeboard, Domtar, International Paper just over the border in North Carolina. So we believe it's an ideal location. I will point out, if you can see it, that's an overlay of Greer as a footprint, just to kind of put things in perspective. With the land around here is a great opportunity. So Greer serves about 4 states every single day: South Carolina, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee. You can see the cluster of companies that are using Greer. Some of these are existing industries, some of these are new. In Dillon, we've identified this initial group of customers. They're existing companies that we think will use this facility, and we do expect other companies to follow. So it may not look like we're doing much, but I can tell you we're doing a lot. We're in the design phase right now. This upper photo, if you can see it, this is a engineering rendering of what our facility is going to look like. Phase 1 will open, being able to handle about 45,000 containers annually, and we are anticipating growing in this volume to about 100,000. Will this be another Greer? No, it won't. What makes Greer unique is halfway between Atlanta and Charlotte, and a big base of manufacturing in the upstate. Will this be successful? Absolutely. We wouldn't be making this investment if we didn't think it was successful. Our goal moving forward is to drive volume through this terminal. That's the only way I can justify the capital that we're going to outlay. As far as steps moving forward, again, we're on the design phase. I have approached NISA. I know Marlboro Electric is also participating in funding a master plan of the footprint, which we greatly need. We want to make sure that we are ready to attract companies when we open, and that's going to be our goal. We're looking at supporting infrastructure. What needs to be done to make us successful, to make the community successful. We are aggressively marketing this facility as we speak. We are talking to companies every single day, not just in South Carolina, North Carolina, but around the world about using this facilities. And we want to be a major influencer in this market. And so I put this last one down here, schools and workforce development. We're going to be part of this community. We want to see this community be successful. We recognize there's some challenges. We want to help influence the direction this community goes. And so we take very seriously our role in that process. And that's pretty pretty much it. I know it's a quick and dirty overview of what we do. Again, I want to thank Rodney. Rodney's a huge supporter of ours, and we're a big fan of his. Again, he's got a good one. William Fleming, Bo McGinnis, we appreciate you guys as well and everything that you've done. And of course, Michael Ellenberg, who's going to be moving here shortly. So with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
This may be premature, but you said that time now in Charleston is 21 hours from getting that off the ship to getting in Greer. What is y'all's time you hope is going to be in Dillon?
Less than that. Less than that. Greer is 212 miles inland. This facility will be 160 miles. So it's certainly a much shorter transit time via rail. And again, I would say less than 20 hours.
Seems to be I spoke to you privately, but there seems to be a juggling act about getting money from the federal government to dig this hole out here. We need to, I mean, we have to get it from the Chinese or the mafia or whoever we got to dig that hole.
Harbor deepening is a unique process. We are going to do it. A couple things about harbor deepening. Number one, it is a formula, a shared formula. 60% is the responsibility of the local municipality, in this case the state. 40% is the responsibility of the federal government. We are a federal channel. If we were to undertake the dredging 100% by ourselves, we would not get any more federal dollars. That is not fair to the taxpayers. Our total bill to dredge is about $500 million. We have $300 million sitting in the bank. That's the only port in the country that has 100% of its share sitting in the bank ready to go. That helped us get elevated in the eyes of Washington. Congressman Rice, as well as the other members of the delegation, fought hard to get what is called a water bill, Water Resources Reclamation Development Act, because the things that are required in Washington, we call it 2 A's, authorization and appropriation. They were both tied to that bill. Now that that bill has been passed, it's actually in conference right now, being cleaned up. We have the authorization, and we hopefully will have the appropriation, assuming the president's budget coming up in the spring, which we anticipate we will be. So we're going to start digging. We're going to start digging with our money, and hope the federal government shows up with their $200 million when they're ready. If not, then Rodney's going to be talking to Congressman Rice for us, right? So it's a long process, but I will say this about harbor deepening. We started what we call our post-45 process in 2009. We will be 52 feet in 2019. It's 10 years. That's considered light speed in Washington. Savannah started their dredge in 1996, and they still haven't scooped the first pail of dirt out of the river. That's the unfortunate world we live in. It takes a while. It takes a while to do things. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
With the most recent pressure on bringing jobs back to this country, who knows what's going to happen, but do you figure anything into your forecast that there may be a downturn in imports?
We have figured that. The good news is we are a consumer-driven economy. And again, I don't see that changing dramatically. Even if a company chooses to locate here, chances are they're going to source globally, which keeps us in play. So no, I think we're seeing a downturn right now because of the Chinese government. China's down as a market. We're the only port that's still seeing positive growth right now, only 1.6%. But everyone else is seeing negative. So no, I don't anticipate us seeing a downturn as a result of nearshoring and reshoring. But who knows?
Who knows?
That's right. Anything else?
Let me just make a couple closing remarks. I see mainly lifelong Dillon County residents. I know most of y'all. You hear we've been praying for this for so long. This is answered prayers. This is truly what it is. I think Jack will tell you also that what they've currently got, you need more to make a profit. You need more customers. That's a beautiful thing for us because these guys are very aggressive in industry recruitment, so we've got a great partner here. It's going to happen here. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. We all talk about skin in the game, so it's cliche with us, but there's a lot of people that's got skin in the game. First and foremost, these folks, these guys sitting over here, William and Bo, and Morrow Electric, they're the best friend that the economic developer ever had. But let me tell you, county council has shown a lot of foresight, and they've been very bold, because we are spending what I consider a lot of money. But there was no question about it. They knew that this had to be done. So they deserve some praise for this. They were bold in what we were all able to offer in terms of our incentives. So I think the future's tremendously bright for us. I tell even my friends in Marion County, they were having a little bit of fit about this coming over. I said, look, this is the biggest announcement in the history of Marion County. It's the biggest announcement in the history of Marlboro County. Florence will even benefit from this. This is very much a regional thing, but this is, I just really encourage you to speak positives, because we're going to need everything we can draw on to make this happen, to continue to make it happen. So we appreciate the great news you bring us today, sir.
My pleasure. And again, we look forward to being a part of the community.